Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. One of our favorite beer stuffs, mystery beers. Mystery beers are back. Got a box of mystery beer from my boy Cameron, Wisconsin. And this is number 2. I'm actually going to do them in order. He didn't ask them to do them in order there, but he numbers them. And he gave me kind of like a, not a hint, but he said there was a couple in there that was some of his favorite of last year. And this is one of them. So I'm kind of curious to dive in. As you'll see, there's a tear on the side here. That was when I was opening the box. Still can't see what the beer is, so we're still good. We'll cheat and look at dates on this. October 4th. That's how we cheat. Classic mystery beer stylings with that nice kind of electrical tape. Okay. Well, I'm not doing any more reviews after this one. Because I think we're dealing with Doc Thickness High ABV Hopeful Goodness. So classic mystery beer stylings on the wrapper. That be Doc. That'd be dark. Like dark. Like very, very, very dark. I mean, look at that head. Even the head has a darkness to it. It's kind of like even darker than I like my coffee to look, kind of darkness with this rich, thick body. I think we're dealing 12-ounce can, big, thick beer, probably a barrel-aged stout. That would be my guess. Let's put it that way. So, yeah. It's good nose. Yeah. I think we're dealing with just a straight bourbon barrel-aged imperial stout. I don't think there's anything beyond it. The reason why I say I think, I could see this being some kind of blend. Maybe, or even just an older, like a barley wine, but it could be, stout quad, stout barley wine blend, but there's big roasty, toasty notes, big, rich kind of maltiness to it, but there is this bittering astringency to malt. Also, on the other side of things, big bourbon notes here. Nothing too hot, though, so I think it's going to actually drink relatively smooth. I think it's a high ABV beer. We're talking 13-ish plus, but the barrel here, that is really what's doing me. It has this rich kind of that barrel char rubbed chocolatey cocoa nut vanilla kind of combination that is really kind of just my wheelhouse when it comes to these kind of beers. I think it's pretty much everybody's wheelhouse, but it is that barrel char that I think, that barrel presence is probably a better way to phrase it. It just is something that a lot of people just don't get. They just miss it, and I think that has to do with time in the barrel. Debated this with Thomas Open from Thomas Open Beer Reviews from Netherlands. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. He does a ton of English reviews. Really awesome dude. And he was like, I posed a question to him when we were talking about beers about like what's your kind of jumping off point for barrel aging? What's your minimum amount of months? And he was like, kind of like 6. And I'm like, I think a year is minimum. 2 is preferred. 3 is optimal. I like a long time in the barrel, and this smells like something that spent a year plus. It's not 3 years in, but it's this rich roasted malts, big bourbon character without a big heat to it, and that nice kind of barrel presence. I think is going to be pretty all right. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. A little hot. It's a little. It's a wet barrel right there. In a high ABV beer. I could be talked into vanilla in this now. I don't think you can get this level of vanilla out of just a barrel. So if they say there's no vanilla in this, they're lying. But I actually think it's a combination of things. And we're talking about barrel character at this point in that vanilla. I think it's and when breweries do this and they do it right, I think it's a very cool play and a very cool combination. When you add just the right amount of vanilla, not overpowering, to something that has a decent barrel presence, they meld together and they prop each other up to where you're just getting this rich, delicious, blurred line of vanilla. Sure, there's coconut in spades here too, but it's vanilla that really leads the way from the barrel here. And with that addition of the vanilla, I think that's where it kind of bridges the gap and both of them kind of get elevated and pushed up. It's not like Florida Sea Thick, but it's not going to be confused with thin by any stretch of the imagination. There's a nice roasted malt to it. Thought it was going to come off a little bit bigger, a little bit more roasty, toasty, maybe even if you're in the coffee direction. And while it's there, it's just not like the barrel and the spirit are just above the beer, so there's a little bit of, not disconnect, but levels to it. And it's minimal, but it's not just equal parts. I don't mind it. I like the way it's playing, so it's not a knock on the beer. But since you have that little slight deflation, I don't know if that's the correct word, in the mouthfeel compared to the ABV of the beer, which I think this is probably, we're eking towards 15 at this point. I think we're at like 13.8. Let's call it that for the moment. Just a touch more mouthfeel would have been nice for me, but considering I think this has spent a decent time in the barrel, it's kind of your trade-off there a lot of times. Bourbon, beautiful, absolutely fantastic. There is a little bit of heat to it on the first sip or two. Absolutely dissipates after you've drank a couple of sips. So now you're just getting that nice, sweet, rich, cherry-like kind of bourbon off of it that comes off very, very, almost like, I want to say like Manhattan-y, even though I haven't had a Manhattan in like 20 years. It comes off like bourbon and cola to a certain extent for me. Not calling it a rum and coke or a bourbon and coke, by any stretch, or Jack and Coke, I should say. But there is this little kind of blending between all the components that makes me think of like a bourbon and cola, in a positive way, definitely not in a negative way. There's a definite big chocolate component here. I actually burped a little bit and got a big burst of this like powdery baker's chocolate with a touch of sweetness to it. This is really good stuff, actually. I don't think I've had a beer from this brewery before, and I'll put a little asterisk on that, unless it's a beer that Cameron has sent to me previously, like a brewery he sent to me previously. Knee jerk, I poured it, 12-ounce can, I immediately default to Revolution. I'm like, is this a Revolution beer? I don't think it is. You know, you kind of default to that, especially with the gold top. It might be. But there's something about the barrel character, something about a beer that makes me think it might be just a brewery that's just done it right. Maybe a smaller brewery and stuff like that. But let's cut to the chase. What is this beer? It's a 13.8% bourbon barrel-aged stout with vanilla. Done. Done and done. I don't think there's anything else added to this. They say there's no vanilla in this. They're flat-out liars. Do I like this beer? No. I love this beer. I actually think it's one of the better barrel-aged stouts that I've had as of late. Is Mount Rushmore status? Yes. We're going to try to cover all that before we unwrap it. I think we're good to go now. This is absolutely delicious. Thank you very much, Cameron, for sending this off. So it is a Revolution beer. I was like, I know it's going to be a Revolution beer, but, you know, I kind of wanted to be like, no, it's not Revolution. Cafe Death. Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels steeped with coffee. They say there's no vanilla in here. They are liars. Their pants are absolutely on fire. And honestly, I didn't get a big roasted coffee component off of this, to be perfectly honest with you. I've had Cafe Death before. What's the ABV on 14.8? We're a full point off. But like I said, I think we're leaning towards 15, so I can kind of talk myself into being not far off on that. Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels steeped with coffee. I get the coffee part. I do. Because I think, you know, at this ABV level, this kind of beer, there's almost always going to be an inherent coffee characteristic to it. But it doesn't taste like an overtly coffeed beer to me. $32 a 4-pack, smells like a bag of ground coffee he wrote on here. I honestly just don't get it. I honestly, again, I'm not the end-all be-all on this. Doesn't really come off as a huge coffee beer for me compared to other coffee beers. I just did a... You know, it's a big bourbon stout with coffee notes to it, but I'm more surprised that, as surprised to my, the words are hard, especially when you're drinking this beer. As surprised as I am that there's no vanilla in this, I'm equally as surprised that there's coffee in it. Let's put it that way, because there's a big vanilla component in here, almost like even if they threw a dose of lactose or something like in that. So for this not to contain vanilla. Gotta be lying. There's no way this doesn't have vanilla in it. Unless I'm confusing vanilla with coffee. I don't think that's the case. But this is absolutely delicious. I mean, Revolution is definitely, you know, Mount Rushmore status barrel age program. And this is absolutely fantastic beer. Yeah, very, very good. Was that a win? No. Did I fail miserably? I wouldn't say miserably, you know. But at the same time, I think everybody would have thought this is a high ABV barrel-aged Imperial Stout, so maybe I'm just trying to walk myself off a ledge of disappointment and failure. I don't know, but you know what? I didn't fail. Why? Because I'm drinking this beer right now. So I win. So there you go. Anyway, thank you very much, Cameron, for sending this off. This is one of the better barrel-aged stouts that I've had as late. Like I said, yes, Mount Rushmore status. It's worthy. Value and availability. I mean, $32 is kind of like, you think about it, it's like, nah, I don't know no, man, that's $32 for a 4-pack of 12-pack cans. But then when you break it down, in your brain, $8 for a can of this. World-class level Imperial Stout, barrel-aged. It's not that bad when you think about it on a single can level. Really isn't, honestly. Because you double that. Okay, let's double it. Let's go to 16 ounces. So 16-ounce cans is $16. Or not, sorry, math, hard. 24-ounce bottle would be $16. That sounds really reasonable, like extremely reasonable. That's why, and I like the idea that it's in 12-ounce cans. In a perfect world, we would even knock it down to 8-ounce cans. Give me this and 8-ounce cans for $20. I'm the happiest guy in the world. Well, maybe not the happiest, but you get what I'm saying. And Revolution, have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? What's your favorite beer from them? Actually, here's the conversation. What's your favorite non-stout / barrel-aged beer from them? And what's your favorite barrel-aged beer from them? And have you had this? Have you had it recently? What are your thoughts? Let's settle the debate. Is Cameron right? Is this a bag of coffee? Or am I right? Or is it just because we taste stuff differently because some people like cucumber pickled? All that fun stuff down there. Hopefully you enjoyed the mystery beer. You're more than welcome to send them off. Oh, we appreciate them. Hopefully you're enjoying a good beer right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.